Hey, everybody. Welcome to Melanie Loves Tampa Bay Live. Hey, everybody, if you missed that. Welcome to Melanie Loves Tampa Bay Live. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I wanted to do another live broadcast because we are getting a ton of questions from everybody. As you all might have seen, Zillow named us the top market for 2022. We'll see if that actually happens. And like I said in that video, I think we were the top market in 2021. I guess we'll wait for those stats to come out. But what I wanted to encourage all of you guys to do, if you're logging in, to put your questions that you want answered over in the comments. And we will see them come up, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can as this live feed goes on. Before we really start with questions, because we need to get people on here, I'm going to go over a couple things. Most importantly, one of the most exciting changes for the Melanie Loves Tampa Bay team is that we have a new website. And the website has a lot more use and function than it did before. You're going to be able to search for houses the same that you would be able to search for houses on any sort of large home selling website. And the nice thing about it is that when you're our client and you're registered, we can see what you're liking and what you're looking at, because that really helps us understand what it is that you like. So whenever it comes to buying the house, we have more of an idea of what it is that's going to work for you guys. So I encourage everybody to register. There is a link for you to register up at the top. Actually, it's covered by the Melanie Loves Tampa Bay icon right there, but it is there. You'll see it whenever you go on the website. And then we have a bunch of information on there. The YouTube library is on there as well. If you want to watch any of the videos, you can see all of them, and they're nice and put into categories. So it helps you if you're looking for home buying or selling or anything like that. So the mastermind of the website is my teammate and assistant and realtor in her own right, Karen Clemente, and she is going to pop in here and give us a little bit of introduction about the website. And I just want you guys to get to know her, because she is the first point of contact whenever anyone calls in. So here's Karen.
Hi, everybody.
So Karen, you developed the website and put it together. What are your favorite things about the website?
My favorite things about the website is when you register, as Melanie's already said, it's collecting information about you, what you're looking for, the timelines. It asks you several questions. Another great feature is our assistant, our AI assistant. And she is really good about asking you questions and keeps going through a process. And it collects all that information for us so that when it comes time for myself to call you, then I have all the information and we can start there and already have a good foot forward.
Yeah, it's really helpful for us to have an idea of what you guys are looking for, your timelines and things like that when you call. And Karen is great with collecting that information for everybody. So whenever they get passed on to me or one of the other team members, we know what we're doing. So the best thing that we can do for you guys is provide the best service that we possibly can. And this website is going to go a long way to helping us do that. So we're very happy with that. So Karen, in general, you can expect to hear from her either email or phone call. She will reach out to you guys, and we'll start the process from there.
Absolutely.
So anything to add, Karen?
No, I'm just looking forward to talking to everybody. It's, I get several calls a day and I schedule them and have a great old chat with everybody from around the country.
Yeah. And Karen's lived a whole bunch of places. So she's very helpful. And I feel like you've lived everywhere that people call.
Right.
So she can usually understand what it is that you're talking about if you're referencing certain neighborhoods and things like that. So
yep, absolutely.
I see some questions coming in. Thank you guys so much. Keep adding them. Thank you, Karen.
Yep, you're welcome.
She's going to be here to help me as we go on if I have any questions. But I'm going to do one more thing before we start answering some questions, just so people have enough time to log on. I get asked all the time about the housing market itself and, whether I think the market is going to go down or whether we're in a housing bubble. And I answer the question as honestly as I can, which is basically what I'm seeing here. And, logically, I know that, things can't go up forever and ever and ever. So I try to pull as much information as I can other than, my basic knowledge and things like that. So I get The Economist magazine, and there happened to be an article in the last, 2 weeks ago that was about the housing market in general. And what I liked about this article is it wasn't just talking about Tampa. It wasn't just talking about the US. It's actually talking about the housing market all over the world. So we have it pulled up here. I'm not going to go through all of it. If any of you guys have ever read The Economist, it has very small font and there's a lot of data in there. What I wanted to point out is even though they're acknowledging the fact that prices have risen so much and that there are risks and downside risks for a downturn and losing property values, they're referencing the fact that the housing bubble may be a product of fundamental economic shifts, and that's the point of the article. And basically what they're saying, I had to actually highlight things so I could remember what to read to you guys, but there's certain factors that are going on right now in the world that aren't necessarily going to change. And people are buying houses very differently than they did the last time we had a bubble. The last time we had a bubble was a lot of speculation and a lot of people that were buying houses that they couldn't afford from a financial standpoint. One of the interesting points that they make in here is that the fixed interest rate is becoming more and more of a product that is globally the is what people are using globally as opposed to rates that change. So people are buying houses, they're locking in lower interest rates, and that means that their intention is, they don't, if interest rates go up, they're already in a low interest rate. So it's just a sign of, before, when the market went down. I'm sorry, I'm doing this terribly. I'm sorry. When the market went down, it was a lot of subprime mortgages and balloon loans and things like that. So that's very different. The mortgages are very different right now. The people that are buying now, the average credit score in America is 750 for a credit score. So that is not subprime mortgage credit score. And also, one of the other points that they make in this article is that people are viewing their homes different, primarily because of COVID and the fact that people are working from home. People are looking at their homes as not just their homes, but also their workspace. So they value that a lot. They're there a lot more than they used to be. If you were working 8-10 hours a day and only sleeping and eating in your house, and now all of a sudden you're there all the time, you really want to like that home. So that is definitely a shift that we've seen happen from COVID. The other thing is just housing supply in general. We all know that there's been supply chain issues for products, home building products, but more importantly, there's been issues with just getting tradespeople out to build the houses. So not only are we dealing with the fact that we can't get the supplies to build the houses, but we also need the people to build the houses. So between those two things, the amount of houses that we need to keep up with demand is just not happening. So they do expect that we're going to continue to see shortages of inventory for houses. And also, one of the things that I've mentioned in several videos at this point is I don't really see a huge motivation for people to move, especially near the Tampa Bay area where people want to be. And even though it's tempting to cash in on all of your equity, the question then becomes, where do I go? And unless you're moving out of the area into an area that's more affordable, then it becomes really difficult to find anything because you're using all of your proceeds from the house that you just sold in order to buy another house. So, because everything kind of went up all at the same time. So that was a really interesting article. If any of you guys want to read it, I'm happy to share it. So one other thing I wanted to touch on before I start answering questions is we did get an update from our in-house lender, David Donaldson. Some of you guys have talked to him already. And he was talking about interest rates, and the interest rates in the past month have gone up a little bit more than what we were expecting them to go up. We were expecting it to be a little slower. So right now, interest rates are coming in sometimes over 3.5%. And but the point of the email was to tell us that he didn't necessarily expect them to keep jumping in really high increments. It should slow down as far as the jump. However, there is most people are expecting the interest rates to be 4, maybe a little over 4% by the end of the year. Now, keep in mind, historically, that is still extremely low. Pre-COVID in 2019, we were dealing with 4% to 4.25% interest rates. So it's not the end of the world. It's not going to cripple the market or anything like that. We're still dealing with really, really low interest rates. So I wanted to talk about that. All right. So I see a lot of questions. Yeah, 3.5% is still historically low. Thank you, D. Thomas. I very much agree with you. Okay, so hi Tito. Tito does my hair. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to touch on rentals because Jared has a question here. Yeah, so I don't do rentals. And people ask me about rentals all the time. I wish I could do rentals. I just don't have the time to do rentals. And honestly, rentals are we don't really get all of the rentals on our MLS because it doesn't take a lot to rent a house. So people don't want to pay agents to find them renters. So they just do it on their own. So a lot of it we don't see. Apartment rents are extremely expensive. We had one of the highest increases in the entire country of apartment rents last year. That is very indicative of the desirability of being in this city. So, unfortunately, I also can't really talk about safety and things like that. That is ethically not something that we're allowed to talk about. I do recommend that if you're concerned about that, to go onto the local sheriff's office websites. They have all sorts of tools on those websites that you can look up crime rates and things like that. That should help you. How much activity are you seeing downtown and channel side? Guy Jones, great question. I'm going to take a sip. Hang on. So downtown is, he's referring to downtown Tampa. One of the great things about this area is we have 2 downtowns. We have downtown Tampa and downtown St. Pete. Downtown Tampa is our biggest area of growth. So we have Water Street being developed, which is over 50 acres of brand new construction, everything from the USF Medical Center to apartments, luxury apartments, to a really high-end 5-star hotel is going to be opening this year, The Addition. We at Smith & Associates, my brokerage, are selling those condo units on top of the hotel. We are almost sold out, I believe, and they start well over $2 million. So it's quite a hefty price tag. But within Water Street, there are a lot of commercial developments, a lot of business commercial space. And we're looking forward to some new restaurants opening this year. And we just had the Heron open last year, which is a luxury apartment complex down there right next to Amalie Arena. Sparkman Wharf is right there. He asked about that. That is a entertainment eating area. It's full of shipping container restaurants. And one of the best things about Sparkman Wharf is that most of the restaurants, if not all of them, I'd have to double check, are run by local chefs. So those chefs typically have larger restaurants somewhere else, and they do a smaller concept over in Sparkman Wharf. So it's great to grab food and sit there. They usually have live music. Lots going on in downtown Tampa. It is a really exciting place to be right now. Same is true with downtown St. Pete. There's a lot going on. Andrew, big fan of your channel. We moved the Water Chase past June from the New York City area, or the best move we've made. Water Chase is a beautiful neighborhood in the West Chase area. Wonderful homes in there. Prices usually, gosh, so expensive right now. Definitely 500 and up. And thank you, Andrew, for watching the channel. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of buyers who moved from New York last year, a whole bunch. New York, New Jersey, California, Chicago. Those were the ones that we saw a lot of. Sorry, I get distracted when I see comments come in, so I'm reading. Do you cover the Parish area near Tampa? Actually, yes. It was not an area that I did for a really long time, but they have so much development down there that I do go down there often. I'm working on, hopefully, we're waiting for a release from a new construction builder down there for Esplanade Taylor Morrison for our clients. We're waiting for the release though. The services are always free. I say that. I don't really like saying it like that. But if you are a buyer and you're using a real estate agent, if you're buying a new build, the builder is paying for the commissions for a real estate agent, and if you're buying a resale house, it's paid for by the seller typically. So yes, technically free, but I don't like to think that I'm free. That seems wrong. Okay, let's see. Lewis. All right. Hello, Miss Melanie. Hello. My niece and her family are their home in Tampa Bay, but they know inventory is low. Are there more options as you spread out from the city, even nearby cities? That's a great question. Inventory is extremely low. We're dealing with less than a month of inventory again. So the answer to that is yes. Most of the new construction is north into Pasco County, east. Wesley Chapel has a lot of land left. If you want to be in the Tampa area and stay in Hillsborough County, then going east is helpful as well. So Thonotosassa, which is Thonotosassa, and everyone mispronounces it. The T is silent in the middle. Thonotosassa has a lot of land there. They do have a lot of large parcels and houses on bigger estate lots. And then all the way as far as Plant City, there's a lot of growth going on in those areas. And I do expect that the next frontier in Hillsborough County is going to go east, because right now we've been seeing a lot of growth in the southeast part. So Riverview, Ruskin, Gibsonton, all the way into the northern Manatee parts that I was just talking about, Parrish. One more thing to add about Parrish. If you like downtown St. Pete or need to work in downtown St. Pete, Parrish and Palmetto are great options for affordable housing for access to St. Pete, because all you have to do is go across the Skyway Bridge, which isn't always the easiest bridge to get across, but it is the most beautiful bridge to get across. That is really what I've been seeing and why I get a lot of people asking me about Parrish and Palmetto. And they're doing a good job with building schools there and really large subdivided neighborhoods. Houses are still fairly affordable there as well. What are your thoughts on Murata and San Antonio? Do you think it will be the next Wesley Chapel? Great question. I love Murata. It's beautiful community. I wish I had the pictures. I wish I could show you all the pictures that I took the last time I was there. I have a client building in Medley right now, which is part of Murata. It is a 55 and up part of Murata. Has some of the most beautiful amenities, clubhouse, pools, tennis, pickleball, all the stuff that you could want. I do think San Antonio, I don't even want to say it's the next Wesley Chapel, because essentially they're merging together as we speak. Epperson is a lagoon community just south of Murata. Murata and Epperson will eventually merge together, not to be one community, but they will have access to both, not necessarily the lagoons in both. They're both lagoon communities, but they're being built next to each other, so when you look at it on a map, they will actually be touching. So one is in San Antonio, which most people don't even know there's a San Antonio, Florida. And I got to tell you, I didn't even really know that till a couple years ago, because there was nothing up there till a couple years ago. So Wesley Chapel, everywhere in Wesley Chapel is growing, whether it's north or whether it's east, it's growing. And then the same is true with Land O'Lakes, which is the more western city in Pasco County. It's more in the center of the county. That is, there you go. There's the map. So State Road 56 and 75 is where Wesley Chapel is. And then it is going north to State Road 54. And then you can see the Epperson Lagoon up there. So it's a really large area, and there's still a lot of space. When you're driving to Epperson, there are cows on one side and communities on the other. So don't worry about us running out of land. As of right now, we have plenty of land, but it is getting farther north. And then Land O'Lakes is I think it's really funny on this map that Caliente is what's showing up. Um, should I tell them what Caliente is?
Yeah.
All right. Only if someone requests that I tell you what that is. Actually, if somebody knows, put it in the comments. I would love to see if somebody out there knows what it is. So Land O'Lakes is center Pasco, and lots of communities being developed there as well. So a lot of where we're seeing the new construction is in Pasco County because there is land there still for development. Okay, what do I think about Watergrass and Wesley Chapel? Worth it? Yeah, I love Watergrass. It's a beautiful community. It's right on the other side of Curly Road from Epperson. There's an elementary school in the community itself. It doesn't get the same buzz that Epperson gets because Epperson has the lagoon, but I don't have any issues with Watergrass at all. I think it's a lovely community. What areas have a downtown area similar to Hyde Park? That's a great question. Oh, Timothy Francisco knew the answer. You guys are going to have to look at the comments to see what Caliente is. Okay, so what areas have a downtown area similar to Hyde Park? Great question. If you guys go to my YouTube channel, I did a video on Safety Harbor and Dunedin, which have really, really lovely downtown areas. I absolutely love Dunedin and Safety Harbor. On top of that, you have little pockets of little downtowns. West Chase has a little downtown. Gulfport has a little downtown that's very cute. Palm Harbor has a little downtown. So I think cities have really begun to understand that people want a central location for restaurants and things to do. So if it's possible, they're trying to do that. And then within a lot of the newer communities, what we're seeing is commercial construction going on in front of the community. So you have, a strip center of, restaurants and professional services and things like that, that will pop up in front of these larger communities to provide, resources for the people that live there. Hi, Melanie. Do you think Tampa will be affected by interest rate hikes over the next 18 months? I think everybody's going to be affected by interest rate heights. I talked about it a little bit at the very beginning, and we're still not expecting interest rates to be too far over 4% by the end of this year. So I don't think that's going to be a big factor in whether people will purchase a home right now. If anything, I think it will increase the amount of people wanting to purchase right now while interest rates aren't at 4%, which is really what I'm seeing. It is January 17th, and the last couple of weeks have been extremely busy here, much busier than what I would typically see in January. So I think people are trying to get a jump on things this year, because typically we would see this kind of activity closer to February, other than over in Pinellas County where the beaches are. We tend to have a really busy tourist season out there. So beach condos, things like that tend to be really popular in January, February, March, April. But what I'm seeing right now are actual suburban home buyers buying right now, which is fairly unusual because that tends to be more March, April, May, June, July. Who should we connect with to learn more about first-time home buying process while we save and learn about the area? That's a great question. First-time home buyers are my absolute favorite home buyers. And you guys have it rough right now. Really, really, really rough. It's going to take a lot of strategy and a lot of information to be successful. But I do not want first-time home buyers to give up. I really don't. Owning a home is a really, really important part of your entire financial picture. And me and my team, whoever is working with you, will be able to help you have as much success as we can possibly give you, first-time home buyers. So it might just mean that you have to go out a little bit farther, or maybe think about a townhouse instead of a single-family home. New construction is great for first-time home buyers because they're not afraid of FHA loans and VA loans and things like that. And a lot of times you're not dealing with a multiple offer situation on new construction. So that's great. And a lot of my first-time home buyers buy new construction. So don't give up. Any new construction being built closest to the ocean or coastal waterways? I know of one that's almost ready. I can't tell you guys where it is. If you have $2.8 million, call me. So what happens to answer that question seriously, John? What happens on the coastal waterways is that land has been built for a very long time. So it's very difficult to find large parcels of land for a builder to purchase and build large developments because the beaches and the areas near the beaches have been developed since the mid 1900s. So what we see in those areas are a lot of teardowns, of older houses and newer houses being built. And that happens all the time. And honestly, that's not a bad thing, although the prices are high on those houses. The reason that it's a good thing is because the new houses that are being built to the newest construction code. Their elevations are much, much higher, and they're much more likely to survive any major storms or anything like that. So they do tend to be expensive because the land is really expensive. You're talking about land that costs $1 million. So you have to put a house on that. So then you're talking about 2 million to, sky's the limit. Can you share your view on cobblestone new development from Taylor Morrison? That's funny that you say that because I was looking at that last week. I don't have any information on that yet. I will tell you that I do a lot of work with Taylor Morrison, so I'm sure I will be there often, but I don't have any information on that particular neighborhood. What would you say is a good city to raise a family in from St. Petersburg to Spring Hill? Well, that is a lot of cities. From Spring Hill to St. Petersburg. I say a lot on the channel and on my regular videos that I can't really tell you guys where a good city is to raise a family because it's not my family and I don't know what you guys consider good. It is ethically a very slippery slope for us to do that. However, there are lots of tools on the channel and lots of videos that give you tools to do research on that. And that really is what it takes. And then just being here and driving around, looking at school districts. So if you're talking about raising a family, a lot of times that has to do with schools. So there are some wonderful school districts in this area. Knowing those and then pinpointing where you want to be because of the schools that you want to be at makes it a lot easier to narrow down your choices. Because between Spring Hill and St. Petersburg, you're talking about a massive amount of different neighborhoods and opportunities. Okay, so what are some places in Tampa, St. Pete that have large lots and homes that aren't close together? That's a great question. That's actually really hard to find. I talked a little bit about Thonotosassa and the more rural areas that are right outside of Tampa. I love Thonotosassa. It is very rural. It feels very country when you get out there, but that's what I like about it. And that's where the large parcels of land are. So logically, builders building neighborhoods right now do not use large parcels of land because they have way too many people that want to live there. So they make as small parcels as they can. They build as many houses as they can. So there are definitely opportunities for houses with larger lots. The problem is finding them in a new construction capacity. Keystone, Odessa, parts of Lutz have lovely lots there. They're definitely more of a rural feel up there. It's, they might not be new construction. Some of them are, because a lot of that area is already developed, but they tend to have larger lots. If you're looking for a large lot near the city, either city or near the beach, that's very difficult to find, because the population is very dense there. But there are some neighborhoods on the outskirts that have nice large lots. I sold one last year on an acre in Thonotosassa. It was great. Toulon was that neighborhood. Do I think Port Tampa City is an up-and-coming neighborhood? There are lots of new builds, Lennar, Castle, Marana Homes, and Milana. Yeah. I think Port Tampa is geographically a very logically should be an up-and-coming neighborhood. It is very close to downtown Tampa. So with all the development going on there, and all the development that's going to be going on in Ybor coming up, there logically it makes sense that Port Tampa would be a neighborhood that people would start tearing down. Thank you. Um, okay, I think we were talking about different areas. I think that map was right. I was talking about a different area. Actually, if you can go back to the map and go to downtown, um, the downtown area, I'll show you where I was talking about, just so you have other options. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So right there, like where the IKEA is, so that area there is where I was talking about, and I don't know why I was thinking that was called Port Tampa. Yeah, it's the Port of Tampa. Yeah, I don't know why the map says the other one. It says Palmetto Beach. Isn't that weird? You don't even know it's called that because no one ever calls it that. Um, both both areas, both Port Tampas are fine places. So if we're talking about the one in South Tampa on the peninsula down there, it is that's very close to the Air Force Base. So yes, that area has always been popular. We also have a tremendous amount of growth going on by the Gandy Bridge and West Shore. Marina Point is a 3 building luxury development that's happening right there where the map is. Um, that is a whole area full of new development, apartments, luxury condos, townhouses, restaurants, all sorts of things. So yes, the entire South Tampa Peninsula is um, a very desirable place to live because of the proximity to the city. Hmm. Cheers. All right. Do I like? Yes, South Tampa. Yes, that's where I live. Okay, yeah. So you were referring to the one in South Tampa. Yeah, I do. I like it. It's already built. There's I know Lennar was building in there, but for the most part, it's an area that's already developed. So they're tearing down, whatever they can. Thank you, Carl. Thank you for liking my videos. Bryant, what is the best way to understand lot prices in different area builders for new construction? We haven't narrowed down a certain area, and this could be helpful. Great question, and I definitely want to talk about this with everybody. New construction is a very interesting process right now. Every builder in every different neighborhood is different. So what used to be very standard, what we could count on, is not like that anymore. So we have builders that are building in one neighborhood doing lotteries. We have the same builder in another neighborhood doing an interest list. So it requires um, for us to just research it, call them, and figure out what's going on in that particular neighborhood so you know how to navigate it. About half my clients do new construction, and that's partly because that's the only thing available in this entire area, and partly because it's just a really, really good option. So I do have sales reps in most neighborhoods around here that I have direct access to, so I can get those answers pretty quickly. When you talk about uh, lot prices, a lot of builders have taken that part out of the equation and they're just selling the houses in a full package. So it has the model, the lot, the construction upgrades, and the design upgrades all rolled into one price. And they're selling them as spec homes. They sell them prior to them being done. Usually it's in some phase of construction. And you don't get to pick anything. You don't get to make any changes. And that's the hardest part for people. But the reason they started doing that was because with the supply chain issues that we were having in the last 2 years, and also with prices, the price for supplies was going up so much that they had houses contracted in 2020 that cost so much more for them to build, and they couldn't change the prices on those buyers. I closed houses in 2021 for people that had contracted in 2020, and they were literally sitting on $150,000 worth of equity the day they closed. So the builders got smart and said, okay, well, we're not going to sell it early and let them design it and, everything else. We're going to get to a certain phase of construction. We're going to know how much everything costs in this house, and then we're going to put it on the market. It really helps with timing because buyers will have a better idea of when it will be done. And then price, because you're not trying to figure out how much am I going to spend on design? How much am I going to spend, on construction upgrades and things like that? One other thing that's happened a lot is if you have your heart set on a pool being built during construction with new construction, a lot of our builders have stopped building pools. The reason why is exactly the same as what I said before. Supply has been a big issue. Just getting pool builders to complete these pools on time has been a major problem for builders. So, a lot of them, most of them, have stopped building pools. There are a couple that do. I'm happy to tell you who they are if you want to reach out and talk about that. So the new construction home process is very different now than it used to be. Happy to walk you guys through it because it definitely requires a lot of navigating for sure. Any pet friendly condos? We are a very pet friendly city in general. So there are pets everywhere. Every condo association is going to have. Oh, that was my phone. Sorry. What just happened? Sorry about that. I turned off my phone and there it went. Every condo, specifically condos, is going to have condo association restrictions. So if you have pets, especially larger pets, it is extremely important that you have those condo docs to make sure that your pet is will be accepted. Because you don't want to run the risk of them saying, no, you can't have that pet. So I can't really name all the condos that have pet friendly things because that would be a really, really long list. All right, William. What new construction companies do you recommend around Wesley Temple? I think Wesley Chapel area. And what is the typical length to complete a new construction home? Okay. Wesley Chapel, there are a bunch of builders in Wesley Chapel, pretty much all of our big ones. Lennar, WCI, which is the luxury brand of Lennar. Lennar bought them out a couple years ago. So it's their higher end product. Taylor Morrison, GL Homes is building a community called Winding Ridge, which is very beautiful. We have D.R. Horton is building several communities out there. You have Biscayne Homes is building the luxury homes in Epperson. Who am I forgetting? Pulte. Pulte's building a whole bunch out there as well. There's lots. So as far as which ones I recommend, that's a loaded question because I don't really have an issue with any of them. With all of them, I have advice and to give you, but it depends on price point and things like that. They're Lennar and D.R. Horton have great value homes. They're not going to have super fancy finishes, but they're going to have a value for a lot of first-time home buyers or people that are just coming here and don't want to spend $800,000 on a house. I think one of the things that is most surprising about Wesley Chapel and the whole area in general is, we're seeing houses under construction in Wesley Chapel for, well over $800,000. $1 million is not terribly unusual anymore, especially in some of the more luxury neighborhoods that are coming up, like Rivers Landing and which Taylor Morrison is building, and GL Homes, which Winding Ridge is their neighborhood. All right. So Gina asked, interested in moving to Tampa with 2 teenagers. Mm-hmm. One in high school. What area do you recommend? So again, I can't really recommend high schools. There are several pockets with I will give you the highest rated high schools because that's public information in the area. So Newsom High is very highly rated. That's down in Lithia in Fishhawk Ranch, which is southeast of the city of Tampa. Plant High School is in South Tampa. That is where my youngest son goes. That's where my middle son graduated from. It has always been known for a very, very long time as one of the highest rated high schools in Tampa. The nice thing about Plant High is that you are living in South Tampa, which if you can afford the prices, it is a wonderful place to live because it's very close to the city. Also, we have highly rated schools up in the suburbs. Steinbrenner High, which is up in the Odessa Lutz area, very highly rated. Sickles High, I think either Gaither High is rated pretty high. Alonzo as well, which is in the West Chase area. And then you have a lot of very highly rated schools up in Pasco County. Wiregrass High, Land O'Lakes High is an A school. Sun Lake High School also is an A school. So there are a lot of options for high schoolers. You also have magnet opportunities, charter schools, and private schools. We can dig in a little bit more into that. There was a question up here. So, Antonio asked, which East Tampa neighborhoods do you recommend if work location is in West Shore? So West Shore, I assume you mean the West Shore Business District, which is one of our largest commercial areas, concentration of large buildings. So downtown Tampa and West Shore have the most commercial space and business professional space. Um, I don't really have an issue with any of the East Tampa neighborhoods. Tampa itself is a wonderful city. There aren't a lot of areas that I say, no, don't go there. I mean, I wouldn't say that in general, because it's just a really nice area. And I think I don't live in another city. So I get the impression that in a lot of other places, there are places where you should stay out of. And I don't really feel that way in Tampa. So as far as good neighborhoods, I can't really answer that question. Where I start with anybody who needs answers to those questions is, what type of housing do you want? What's your price point? What size do you want? And then from there, we can see what's available, and then we can look at the houses and see if they're in neighborhoods that you're comfortable with. Okay, hang on, I need a drink. Is Lutz a good area for a child? Same answer to that question. Lutz is a lovely area. There are lots of children in Lutz. Sorry. Karen was laughing at that answer. Hi, David. Would love to live in Tampa. Hi, David. From Germany. Are you originally from Germany, David? Would love to live in Tampa. My oldest son, his favorite city when he went to Europe in 2019 was Berlin. So I think he would love to live in Germany, although he doesn't speak German. So that would probably be bad. Hi, Denise C. Hi, Melanie. Love your channel. Any good 55 plus communities you can recommend about the Tampa Bay area? Yes, I love that question. So 55 and up communities. I really want to convey to everybody that 55 and up communities are really not what they used to be. Every time I go to one, I wish I could live in one. They are the most beautiful, fun neighborhoods around. Bexley, which is just north of the Hillsborough-Pasco County border. It's technically Land O'Lakes. I always call it Odessa there because it's right there. There's a Del Webb community there, and it looks like spring break every time I go to show houses there. It makes me very jealous. We also have Medley at Murata, which is I talked about a little earlier. Same exact thing. It is beautiful. We have some ones to the south. You have Valencia Lakes, which is GL Homes community. Again, very, very beautiful. And then we have some that are already established. Heritage Springs is an older neighborhood that's just up in Odessa, which, has been established for a very, very long time. Those are the four off the top of my head. There are several 55 and up condo communities, some housing that's just closer to the beach. There's some 55 and up little pockets there as well. But if you're looking for, the lots of energy and lots of amenities, those three that I just mentioned are my favorite. So do I represent buyers for just land purchases? That's a good question. I haven't done a vacant land purchase in a long time, if I'm being completely honest with you, because it's not really what most people are asking me for. I have absolutely done them. They have their own challenges. And I do not go to Hernando County. Unfortunately, it's really far for us to go up there. And unless I know a market, I don't like to work in a market because I don't feel like that's representing you guys well enough. So if you need vacant land in Hernando, I would refer you to somebody that works up there. Are prices on Zillow accurate? We're seeing a large jump in price between Zillow and recent videos we're watching about the Tampa Bay area. As a real estate agent, it's hard for me to comment on Zillow, but it is somewhat accurate is how I'll put it. Zillow uses their AI to look at a neighborhood and value a house based on what has sold in that neighborhood. There are neighborhoods where the houses are very similar to each other, and their estimates can be very close because the houses are very similar to each other. However, when you get into neighborhoods that are a little bit older, you have a lot of factors to keep in mind, and that affect the value of the house, especially in a market like what we're seeing right now. So the answer to that is yes and no. The best thing to look at is what houses have sold for recently. Even though everything kind of keeps going up every month, at least that will show you, what the houses in that neighborhood were selling for, last month or 2 months ago. HOA is crazy in Florida. Let's talk about that. And I'm going to explain that a little bit because HOAs aren't necessarily crazy in Florida. A lot of times the CDD fees are crazy. So let me explain the difference. I do have a video on the channel that talks about CDD fees and explains them. But most large neighborhoods have CDD fees. The CDD is broken up into two different sections. One is a bond section that the developer takes out with a bank. It's usually a 30-year bond that helps develop the amenities and the infrastructure of the neighborhood. So the homeowners pay that bond back every year on their taxes. The other portion of the CDD is the maintenance portion of the CDD, which takes care of said amenities. So once the bond is paid off, you still have that maintenance portion. So what we're seeing in the newer neighborhoods are very high CDD fees, upwards of $200 to $300 a month for CDD fees. In those neighborhoods, the HOAs tend to be extremely low, like $100 a year, like crazy low. But in neighborhoods that don't have CDDs, that have a lot of amenities, your HOAs are going to be higher. So I don't consider Tampa necessarily an area where across the board our HOAs are crazy high. Neighborhoods like Westchase, where the CDD bond is paid off, you have a maintenance portion of the CDD that's a tad over $500 a year and an HOA of just over $300 a year. You can live in an absolutely beautiful community for $800 a year in fees. So condo fees can be very expensive, but that's very different from HOA fees. When we come to you as a first-time buyer, what should we have ready, come prepared with? Great question. If you haven't talked to a lender, that would be the first question that we're probably going to ask, because that's the biggest piece of the puzzle for us to figure out. If you need anything fixed on your credit, let's pull your credit. Let's see what what you qualify for from a debt to income ratio perspective, and really dig in with the lender and get your financial information turned in so you can get a full pre-qualification letter. The problem with first-time home buying right now, there's a lot. The prices are going up a lot, but there are so many buyers at that lower price point and a lot of investors at that lower price point that are purchasing homes to rent to people. So in order to beat those investors who are usually paying cash, we have to have all of our ducks in a row. So for first-time home buying, you have the same things as a regular home buyer. If you don't know the area, figuring out which areas you like and which area you want to live is the first step. Talking to a lender, first, second step, whatever we want to call it, is important as well. So from there, we can help you kind of navigate the rest of it. There's a lot to learn when you're buying a house, but that is exactly what we're here to help you with. Don't be afraid to buy a house. I know it's a very scary thing to do, especially in this market, but we will definitely help you navigate it. I love first-time home buyers. Okay. What areas do you recommend for singles in their 40s with no kids besides downtown St. Pete and Hyde Park? Ooh, fun. Singles in their 40s with no kids besides downtown St. Pete and Hyde Park. Dunedin's fun. I don't know. I would recommend South Tampa and Hyde Park and St. Pete. Westchase has a pretty vibrant single scene as well. I'm looking over at one of my other teammates who's lived all over the county as well. So they're one of the closest suburbs to South Tampa. Beach living, if you're living over by the beach, there's a lot of tourists. So I don't really recommend that too much. Kind of depends on what you want to do. If you're really active and you like being outside, there's some great pockets near Dunedin where you have access to the Pinellas Trail, and you have a great vibe over in downtown Dunedin. I don't know. I think you hit on the ones that I would normally recommend. Safety Harbor. Yeah, Safety Harbor is another good one. So a little downtown area in Safety Harbor. Best St. Pete neighborhoods near downtown for young 20 professionals. So when you're, excuse me, not interested in beach living. Me either. I don't like the sand, just the warm temps. Okay. Just call me LLR. We can chat about that. So best St. Pete neighborhoods near downtown for young 20s, young professionals. So what I love about downtown St. Pete is that Central Avenue, which is the main road that kind of runs through the downtown area, just keeps expanding west. It goes, you have historic Kenwood that straddles the Central Avenue area. So it now goes all the way past 275. And basically what they're doing in St. Pete is just going further west and then going north and south in both directions. There's a lot of teardowns going on down there, a lot of apartments going on. So if I were in my young 20s and I were moving to St. Pete, I would want to be somewhere that's walkable to Central. The other option would be to go a little farther north and be close to 4th Street. So 4th Street is a north-south road that runs from the Gandy Bridge to downtown St. Pete. So there are things to do on 4th Street as well. So if you're having trouble finding housing that you can afford in the downtown area by Central, then 4th Street is another option. And as you go farther north, the less expensive there are. I sold a house on 85th, right off of 4th Street last year for, gosh, I don't remember the exact price, but it was not terribly expensive. So it was a great option for somebody. And the nicest thing about that is you could get on the Gandy Bridge and be on the Tampa side. I would get from my house in South Tampa to that house in St. Pete, North St. Pete. I could get there in about 15 minutes because the Gandy Bridge just runs really, really smoothly. This is for Lewis. Yes, I do. Although I'm a little bit more concerned this year than other years. So we're going to see. My next tickets are the 29th. Okay. Hi, Destiny. So Destiny is a client that I met down in Riverview. We chatted and went to a Taylor Morrison community there, which is a great community. Destiny, get everything together so you can buy a house in that neighborhood. I love that neighborhood, Echo Park. Okay, so let's see. So my son is looking to become a homeowner for the first time. What would you recommend, renting or a while longer or trying to purchase now? I think it's really hard to time the market, and renting is extremely expensive right now. So if they have the ability, if your son has the ability to purchase now, I don't really see any reason to not purchase now, partly for locking in the lower interest rates because we do expect them to go up. So if he can lock it in at, 3.5 or 3.75, that's going to go a long way in comparison to locking it in, for 4.5. So we're not really expecting people to stop coming to the Tampa Bay area anytime soon. So I'm not really expecting there to be some sort of, big drop in prices. That obviously can happen. We saw it happen, but we are not seeing any indications of that happening right now. Is Lutz a good safe area for families? Again, I can't really answer the safe area for families. I love Lutz. I would never hesitate to live in Lutz. I'll say that. How much would a nice four-bedroom home cost? Everywhere in Tampa is pretty expensive right now. So a 4-bedroom house in Lutz would probably be $500,000 and up, depending on size of lot. Property tax is high. Property taxes are going to be based on the value of the house as it's assessed the year after you buy it. So if you bought a house in March of this year, the next year your house will be reassessed by the property appraiser with current market values. So one of the things that I want all of you guys to remember whenever you're scrolling around online and you see property taxes on houses, you're going to see some that are going to say $5,000. And then down the street, you're going to see one that says $9,000. And you're going to say, well, I want this house because the property taxes are $5,000 on this house and $9,000 on that house. That is not how it works. So in the state of Florida, if you homestead your property, meaning it is your primary home, you cap the amount that your taxable value can go up on your property taxes by 3% a year. So if you own that house for 25 years, your house was assessed for your original purchase price, or the original time that you bought it, and it's been capped at 3% a year. So you are paying significantly less than what someone is going to be paying who just bought the house last year or is buying it this year. So don't ever look at the taxes on what the current people are paying and think that's what you are going to be paying. It will be reassessed at the current value. So keep that in mind. That is not the question that you asked, but that's good information anyway. Okay. From Syracuse and a big Bolt fan, hope moving to Lakeland. Lakeland is Lakeland's an area that is really emerging. So we have the big sprawling suburban area of Orlando and the tourist area. And then we have Tampa that's growing east. So what's smack dab in the middle of that? That's Lakeland. So it's not a city that I know very well. There's never really been a lot of reason for me to be in Lakeland. Strawberries are plant city. Strawberry Festival is coming up in March. So that'll be exciting. I'm told I have to go this year. So I will be there. Hi, Melanie. Just curious if you watched Selling Tampa on Netflix and what did you think of it? Okay. I did. I watched it. I thought that the shots that they showed of Tampa were absolutely beautiful. I thought it made our city look absolutely beautiful. They showed some wonderful restaurants and some wonderful things. That's all I will say about it. Next question. How do you go about requesting info from the builders without bumping out the realtor? That's a great question. Builders are very quick to kick us out. They don't want to deal with realtors. We tend to, represent our clients. And they don't really want that. Remember, when you're going into a builder model, you are meeting with someone who works for the builder. And even though they are very nice people, I have lots of friends and connections in those sales centers. I'm not saying anything about them personally, but they do work for the builder. So a lot of times builders will have signs that say, if you're working with a realtor, you need to let us know, or your realtor needs to be there on your very first visit. If that sign is there, please do what that sign says if you want to work with a realtor. If you don't, or if you don't have your real estate agent with you, then say, okay, thank you. I will come back and get more information with my real estate agent. A lot of builders are nice about it. And we'll say, okay, well, sign up and, walk through our models and things like that. And then, I usually, if I have clients coming in town and I know that I'm not going to be able to be at all the model centers with them, I will send them my contact card and text it to them. And then they have all that information so they can fill it out and let them know that they will be working with me. What's really tricky about that is people come down here and they're not ready to move here. They don't know the area. So they're going to model centers, they're trying to figure everything out. And they're expected to have a real estate agent with them at that point. You're not necessarily at that point that you're going to want to have a real estate agent with you. So that's definitely an issue that I have with builders in general. I definitely understand why they do it, but I do everything I can to get around it. But I have had situations where clients have not been able to use representation because of the fact that they got too much information. They went too far along the process with the builder before letting them know that they have an agent. Hi, Stephanie. Canadian here. What's a typical closing period over there? Also, are major renovations expensive there? Everything is expensive here right now. As far as getting anything done in construction, it's also really hard to find people with time available to do it. That's going to be true across the board. So it's nothing unusual. We just have a lot of people that are moving here and want to renovate. So I'm going to say, yes, it's expensive, but that's relative to what you're used to. What's typical closing period over there? Cash can close in a week. If you're financing, it's typically 30 days to 45 days. Florida is not an attorney state. So even though you are welcome to have an attorney represent you, it is not required. So that tends to push along the process a little faster because we don't have attorneys in there. Um, and yeah, I think Canadians used to come down all the time, and I know that there's a lot going on up there. So we're happy to have you guys back down here. I know those all those Ontario people that always come down and visit us every year. So I hope you guys come back down here. Melanie, do you have a preferred home builder? I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think that there's a place in this market for every home builder, and I navigate the home building process with every home builder for whichever ones my clients choose. The reason I don't have a preferred one is because they provide a product for, all sorts of people. You have different price points, and, different, levels of home building and things like that. So it really depends on where you are, with the area you want to be in, with the price point that you're at and the size of house that you need. I definitely will give my opinion and let you know my experience with those home builders. But I don't ever say that I have a preferred one, because for some people, the value builders are the ones that they can afford. And it's, if you look at reviews online for any of those builders, they are terrible because they build thousands of houses, and the people that aren't happy will write reviews. That doesn't mean that every house they sell is terrible. So we like to go into it with our eyes open, and I try to give you as much information as I can. Let's see, where are we? All right, so we're going to finish up here in a minute. So I'll answer Hakan's. Okay. Yeah, Dan, real quick. I'll answer that really quick. You mentioned a 55 Odessa. That's the Del Webb community in Bexley. And then Murata is, or Medley, which is in Murata, which is north of Wesley Chapel. So what is the ballpark figure for a 3-bed, 2-bath home in a gated community in Wesley Chapel? Which ones would you recommend? Well, that's funny because I was just looking at those for a client. Ballpark figure would be right around 400,000 and up. Neighborhoods that I recommend in Wesley Chapel, there are not many that I don't recommend in Wesley Chapel. So look at everything when it comes to Wesley Chapel. That is one of the areas that we're seeing extremely high CDD fees, that will add to your monthly payment. But they're lovely neighborhoods and they have a lot of amenities. But if you're not an amenity person, then paying for those amenities can be rough. But I was just looking at houses for somebody that was in the 415 to 440 range. There's a lot of new construction going on in Epperson. D.R. Horton has several in that range. And then Pulte Homes is in the mid fours. And then up from there. Townhouses are really the only thing we can find for under 400 right now. Plan on moving to Florida in September. How far in advance should I get my pre-approval loan? That's up to you. A lot of pre-approvals will expire. So if you're concerned about anything in your credit or anything like that, then contact them now so you have time to work those things out. But if you're not concerned about anything, then I wouldn't worry about it yet, because they usually will expire 30 days is typically normal. You're welcome, Isa. I just got my green card and I want to move close to my family in Tampa. I'm interested in Bexley. Having a job offer, would it be easy to obtain a mortgage? Yeah, so you're definitely going to need that job offer letter. And then you need to talk to a lender. So that's my short advice on that one. Talk to a lender, let them see everything, and they'll be able to advise you on whether you're can get a mortgage. Real quick, I'll answer this one more. Buying an investment home to rent. Can you please compare Waimama to Wesley Chapel? I just did this exercise for somebody. I didn't do Waimama, but I was looking at it for Wesley Chapel. I think a lot of people have that idea. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm getting more and more phone calls about it. So, and it's a good idea because there's so many people that want to rent homes. So there's a high market for it. What I can tell you from, you really have to pay attention to the fees. And I've mentioned that several times today. CDD fees, HOA fees, things like that really add to the monthly cost, which makes it harder for you to make money. Now, The hard thing about that is people tend to want to rent in neighborhoods that have lots of amenities and good schools and things like that. So if I were buying an investment home, I would do it in Wesley Chapel over Waimama. But that is just a general answer to that. I would really have to pull apart the numbers on that, and I can't do that off the top of my head. In-law suites, are they legal? Making a garage into one, for example, that depends. In any HOA community, it's really hard to do that because they're going to have restrictions. Areas that are more the city areas that don't have HOAs, there's a lot of people that do that. So it happens all the time in Seminole Heights and Tampa Heights and South Tampa and St. Pete and all those areas. It's hard to even find a garage because everybody's converted them, but harder in neighborhoods with HOAs. Are there areas in Tampa that do not allow short-term rentals? A lot of areas in Tampa that do not allow short-term rentals, and a lot of areas in St. Pete that do not allow short-term rentals. I cannot stress this enough. If you are looking for an Airbnb, make sure you are absolutely doing your research on the city restrictions. And if you're buying anything in an HOA community, you are not going to be able to Airbnb it. It is not going to be allowed by just about any homeowners association. So we see a lot of Airbnbs in Seminole Heights, Tampa Heights, South Tampa areas, anywhere where there's a decent amount to do and decent accessibility to the cities. Same is true for the beaches. The beaches, every single city have different restrictions for short-term rentals. I do have a link somewhere, not somewhere, I know where it is, but I have a link that goes through all the different cities in Pinellas County for Airbnbs. It is very tricky though. And also that can change at any point. A city can change their Airbnb restrictions at any point. So that's a tough one. Is 200 a lot? Okay. So looking to escape Canada from Ontario. I just talked to you guys. Yay. Is $200K for a major renovation considered a lot? Not really, if you're doing a major renovation. So, gutting kitchens and bathrooms and floors. Are 2 to 3 acre lots plenty available in Lutz or Wesley Chapel? No. Wesley Chapel, definitely not. Most of Wesley Chapel is large communities. You need to be looking in Thonotosassa or to the southeast. Lutz, definitely, maybe. I said no, and then I said definitely and maybe. All the answers. It's been an hour and 7 minutes. I think my brain's turning off now. So Lutz is definitely going to be easier to find larger lots there. I love Lutz. It's a really, really special area of Tampa. The prices are going to be much higher in Lutz though. So definitely keep that in mind. So, okay, I'm going to sign off. Looks like everybody stopped. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos that are coming out, and make sure to register on the website, MelanieLovesTampaBay.com. With love, Melanie.